Hello and welcome back everyone. I am Shivani Garg, Assistant Professor from IMT University. In previous few lectures of control system, we have studied about the basics of control system, graphical representation of block diagram representation, Mason's-Kane formula representation of control system, time response analysis of control system. And in this particular lecture, we will be studying about the stability of a system, how we can calculate the stability and how can we say the system is stable or not. So let's get started. So first is what is stability in this particular system. Like previous lectures, we will be studying about only time invariant system. So a system is said to be stable when it comes back to the normal condition while applying some disturbances. A system is unstable if the output diverges without bound from its equilibrium state when the system is subjected to an initial condition, and it is marginally stable if the system tends to oscillate about its equilibrium state. So we have three conditions. One is system is completely stable when it will gain back its normal condition. Other is unstable, system would become unstable if it does not comes into its normal condition. And third one is the marginally stable. If it oscillates around its normal condition, then it is called a marginally stable system. So for next is BIBO, means bounded input bounded output stability. So input system is called stable if we apply a bounded input, then it should give a bounded output only. So if it is not giving bounded output, then it becomes unstable. So a system is stable if for every bounded input signal the system response is bounded, and it is unstable if for every bounded input signal the system response is unbounded. So what is bounded input? If we can see from here, this is an input which is bounded with respect to time. We give it to a system, and here we are getting a bounded output only. So this is the stable system. We can say this is a stable system. But if we give a bounded input but we are getting an unbounded output with respect to time, then the system is called unstable system. Another is exponential stability. So for exponential stability, for zero input, if the response asymptotically decays to zero with a decreasive exponential envelope, then the system is called exponentially stable. So if a system is exponentially stable if it decays to zero with respect to time. So for example, if we are getting output like this, then the system would be called as exponentially stable. So these are the poles and zeros, as we have already studied in previous lectures also. We have a general transfer function form is GS is equal to NS by DS, which is a polynomial in numerator and denominator. So the poles of this transfer function GS will be the roots of denominator polynomial, that is values of S, which makes ds is equal to 0, and similarly the zeros of the system are the roots of the numerator polynomial ns, that is when ns is equal to 0. Therefore the system GS represents an equation has n poles and m zeros. So for example, let us consider a system. Here we have GS is equal to s square plus 7s plus 12 divided by s square into s into s square plus 2s plus 1. Then what would be the zeros for the system? We can obtain by putting the numerator equal to 0, that is s square plus 7s plus 12 is equal to 0, and poles of the system can be obtained by putting denominator which is equal to 0, that is s square plus 2s plus 5 is equal to 0. So therefore the zeros of the r z1 is equal to minus 3 and minus 4, which we are getting by solving this equation. And if we solve this equation, we get the poles. So here we have P1 is equal to 0, a pole at origin, and P2, P3. For this equation, we are getting two complex poles that which are equal to minus 1 plus minus J2. Okay, so this is the pole 0 plot example. So here we have a term sigma, which denotes the real values of the poles or zeros, and on the y-axis we have j omega axis. So for zeros we simply show it by dot, and for poles we show it by cross. So these are showing as poles, these are the poles, and these are the zeros. So what was the what we were getting in the equation? We were getting two zeros at minus 3 and minus 4. So here we have a 0 at -3 and at 1 0 at -4, and similarly we are getting poles at P1 is equal to 0 and P2 P3 is equal to -1 plus minus J2. So if we draw in the see in the this one pole is at origin, that is P1 is equal to 0, and one pole is at -1 plus J2 and -1 minus J2. So this is called the pole 0 map for the system. Stability in frequency domain, how we can calculate the stability in frequency domain. So let us consider again a linear time invariant system whose transfer function is given by, this is the same equation which we have seen in previous slides. The denominator of the polynomial is when put is equal to 0, it is called the characteristic equation. So this is called a characteristic equation. The roots of the characteristic equation are known as poles. The roots of the denominator which is equal to the characteristic equation, these are known as poles. Assuming the poles of the system are distinct, the transfer function can be expressed in partial fraction forms as, if we assume these all these poles, all these n number of poles are distinct, then it can be written in partial fraction form as a upon s plus 1 plus a upon s plus 2 up to a n upon s minus n. The poles can be real, imaginary or complex. Poles can be, here we have assumed these all are real, but these S1, S2 can be imaginary, purely imaginary or complex poles. So real poles, so let us consider one case, all the cases one by one. So let us consider if we have all the real poles only. So for real poles, the partial fraction form would be equal to AK upon S minus K. If a pole Sk is real, say Sk is equal to A, then the pole lies in the left half plane for A is less than 0. In the right hand side of plane for A is greater than 0. So if we have a plot here sigma, this is j omega. So if A is less than 0, then the pole would be here, somewhere here, and if A is greater than 0, then the pole would be here on the right hand side of the S plane. So the inverse Laplace transform of the term AK upon S minus A is AK e to the power at ut. So there would be two conditions for A when A could be less than 0, A is equal to, three conditions, A could be less than 0, A is equal to 0, and another one A is greater than 0. So when A is less than 0, that is pole lies in the left hand plane of the impulse, dies out after a finite time, indicating bounded output response. Hence the system is stable for A is less than 0. So as we have seen in previous lectures also, when the poles are lying in the left hand side, it should be stable. So what is it? The system would be stable when A is less than 0. Why? Because when A is less than 0, our response would be equal to AK e to the power minus AT, that which would become 0 as t tends to infinity. So we will get a plot like this. So this is a stable system as we are getting a bounded output with while giving a bounded input. So for A is less than 0, the system would be stable. Another condition when A is greater than 0, that is the pole lie in the right hand side of the S plane, then the pole lies at the origin, the impulse response increases without n bound as time increases. So at t tends to infinity, the output would also become infinity. So for A is greater than 0, so this is when A is greater than 0, we get an output like this, AK e to the power at, which would goes on increasing as time increases. So this becomes unbounded in output. This is unbounded. So this system is unstable. Okay, so this is unstable system. Another condition is when A is equal to 0, that is we have a pole at origin. Then what would happen? We will get the output e to the power 0t is 1. So we will get a constant output AK. So it will oscillate around one stable origin. So this is called the marginally stable system. So another condition is when we have complex poles instead of real poles only. So if Sk is complex, say Sk is equal to A plus minus JB, complex poles will always occur in conjugate. So A plus minus JB, then poles lie in the left half of S plane, in right hand half of S plane when A is greater than 0. So if A is less than 0, the poles would lie here when A is less than 0, and when A is greater than 0, the poles would lie somewhere here. Okay, and when A is equal to 0, the poles would lie somewhere here. Okay. So the partial fraction of the complex pole is given by GS is equal to S minus AK upon S minus A minus JB plus AK star upon S minus plus JB. Using inverse Laplace transform, the impulse function partial fraction form is given by A to the power AT cos BT plus phi. For A less than 0, the poles lie in the left hand plane of the impulse response decreases exponentially to 0, indicating it is absolutely integrable impulse response and the system is BIBO stable, that is bounded input bounded output stable. And for A is greater than 0, it will goes on increasing exponentially. So impulse response increases without any bound, hence the system is unstable for A is greater than 0. So when poles lie here, the system is stable. When poles lie here, the system becomes unstable. And what if when the A is equal to 0? Let's see. So when so this is showing the for when A is less than 0, and for this is for when A is greater than 0. Output would be something like this. So this is for stable system, as we are getting a bounded output, and here it is goes on increasing as infinity as time is increasing. So this is an unbounded output. So this is an unstable system. Okay. So one third case is imaginary poles, that is when A is equal to 0. So our imaginary pole Sk is equal to plus minus Jb. Then the poles lie on the imaginary axis, that is j omega only. So our poles lie here on j omega axis only. So the impulse response from the equation, this would be equal to A cos Bt plus phi, and if there is no damping, then the response continuously oscillates between the limits. So here, if this is the normal condition, it will keep on oscillating around this equilibrium point, and this is called marginally stable system. So with this we can conclude that if the poles of the characteristic equation lies in the left hand side of the S plane, then the system is purely stable or absolutely stable. If the poles even a single pole lies on the right hand side of the S plane, then the system becomes unstable, and if some poles lie on the imaginary axis of the system, then the system becomes marginally stable. So we have different criteria to check the stability of a system. First one is, here we will see Routh-Hurwitz criteria. It gives the necessary and initial and necessary conditions to calculate the stability of the system. So the Routh-Hurwitz criteria is necessary and sufficient condition for the stability of linear time invariant system. Okay, so it will give us a necessary and sufficient conditions. So for complex system we cannot calculate the poles of the system. So we need some criteria to check whether all the poles of the system are lying in the left hand side or right hand side. So if we have a second degree or third degree order polynomial, we can calculate the poles, but if we have 7 degree, 8 degree, 9 degree polynomials, we cannot calculate the poles by manually. So what we can use this criteria to calculate the stability of the system. So here we have two steps in this method. First one is to generate a Routh array, and second one is to interpreting the Routh array for location of poles in the S plane. So the Routh-Hurwitz criteria states that the number of roots of the characteristic equation with positive real parts is equal to the number of changes in sign of the first column of the Routh array. So this is the statement for Routh-Hurwitz criteria, or we call it as RH criteria also. What is the statement? The roots of the characteristic equation. How many roots of the characteristic equation have? If even a single root is on right hand side, then the system becomes unstable. So this would give how many poles are on the left hand side and how many poles are on the right hand side of the S plane. So it will give the real parts is equal to the number of changes, which will be equal to the number of changes in the first column of the Routh array. So we will see with the example. So let's see, we have a characteristic equation again with the same equation. So the coefficient of characteristic equation are arranged as row in array as follows. So we have s to the power n, the maximum degree, and the next lower degree. Okay, so if we have, so if n is equal to 6, then it would be s to the power 6 and s to the power 5. Okay. So we arrange this in this way, and we put the values of coefficients, alternate coefficients. So first one a to the power n, and the next one a n minus 1 would be here in the second row, third one in the first row, fourth one in the second row, again fifth one in first row, and sixth one in second row. Similarly for up to we reach a naught. Okay, so this is the first step to make the Routh array. Next what we will do, the remaining rows are formed using the following procedure. We will follow the following procedure to make. So next would be Sn minus 2. So this is Sn minus 1, Sn minus 2. Next row would be equal to Sn minus 2, and the values in this row would be equal to Bn minus 1, where Bn minus 1 is equal to An minus 1, that is this An minus 1 into An minus 2 minus An into An minus 3 divided by An minus 1. Similarly Bn minus 2 would be equal to An minus 1 into An minus 4 minus An into An minus 5 divided by An minus 1. Similarly we can calculate Bn minus 3, Bn minus 4 up to B naught. Okay, so for next row would be equal to Sn minus 3. So we have calculated Sn minus 2 now. Now next task is to calculate Sn minus 3. So the coefficients Cn minus 1, Cn minus 2, Cn minus 3 we can calculate similarly as we have calculated this by using these two rows. The same procedure can be used for calculating Cn minus 1 by using these two rows. So Cn minus 1 would be equal to Bn minus 1 into An minus 3 minus An minus 1 into Bn minus 2 divided by Bn minus 1. Similarly for Cn minus 2 it would be equal to Bn minus 1 into An minus 5 minus An minus 1 into Bn minus 3 divided by Bn minus 1 up to all the terms. Similarly we can calculate next rows also up to S naught. We will go up to S naught. Okay, with the same procedure. Now we have completed with this, we have completed this Routh-Hurwitz array. This is called Routh-Hurwitz array. First step is completed. Next step is to interpret the stability. So how do we interpret? For a system to be stable, it is sufficient that all the elements of the first column in the Routh array is positive. So all the arrays in the first column, so this is the first column, these all should be positive, then the system is stable. And if condition is not met, so if condition is not met means if any one of the coefficient is negative, then the system is unstable, this is sure. But how many poles, you can say how many poles in the are lying in the on the right hand side, so then the system is unstable, and the number of roots with positive real parts is equal to the number of changes in the sign of the element. So how many times the sign is changing, those many number of roots are lying on the right hand side of the plane. Okay, so if there is sign change, no, then the system is stable. If there is sign change, then the system is unstable, and the number of sign changes equal to number of roots in the right hand side of the plane, S plane. So let's see with the one example. So we have a third order polynomial s cube plus 4s square plus 9s plus 10 is equal to 0. We have to calculate if the system is stable or not. So let's if we calculate, this is third degree polynomial, so we can simply calculate manually also. So the roots would be equal to minus 2, minus 1 plus minus j2. So all the roots are lying on the left hand side, so this system is stable. So let's check it with the Routh-Hurwitz criteria also. So first we will make the array. So first step is to put the maximum degree, that is 3, so s cube, then s square, s to the power 1, s to the power 0. Okay, then s cube we will this is 1, so 1, next one this 4 would come here, next third term would come here, then fourth term would come here. We do not have any other forms, so this is it. So next for s1 what we have, 9 into 4 minus 10 into 1 divided by 4. Okay, so what we have, 9 into 4 minus 10 into 1 divided by 4, and what would be equal, what will this be equal to? 9 4 is 36. Okay, so if we write it here, 9 4 is 36 and 10 1s are 10 divided by 4. So 36 minus 10 is 26. Okay, so this is 26 by 4, and next no term would be here, so let us assume it is a 0. Okay, so next term would be this, for S naught what we will have, we have 26 by 4 into 10 minus 4 into 0 divided by 26 by 4, that is we will get 10 again. Okay, so there is no sign change. If we see from this is positive, this is positive, this is also positive, this is also positive, so there is no sign change, then the system is stable. As we can see from here also, all the roots are lying on the left hand side of the plane. So let's see one more example. Here we have a polynomial s cube s square plus 3s minus 5 is equal to 0. So here we can see there is a sign minus 1. This is showing there must be at least one pole which is lying on the right hand side of the plane. So this means the system is unstable, and if we calculate the roots, then the roots are s is equal to 1, minus 1 plus minus j2. So this is the positive root. So the system is unstable. We can simply see tell from this equation also this is unstable, and when we calculate the roots of the equation, we can see the one pole is lying on the right hand side of the plane, so this should be unstable. So when we make a Routh array, there should be one sign change which will show that there is a one pole on the right hand side plane. So let's see with the Routh-Hurwitz array. Again this is a third degree polynomial, so again we have s cube s square s to the power 1 s to the power 0. So we have coefficients 1, second term would be here 3 and minus 5. Okay, so what we have, 1 into 3 minus 1 into minus 5, that is 3 plus 5 divided by 1, and here it would be 0, so it would come again 5 and this would become 8. So this is 8 and this is minus 5. So there is no sign change here, there is no sign change here, there is one sign change here. So one time the sign is changing, so that means one pole is lying on the right hand side, which is also proved with this equation. So we can say this system is unstable because one pole of the characteristic equation is lying on the right hand side of the plane. So there are some special cases in Routh-Hurwitz array. So let's see those cases. First case, let's consider a system with characteristic equation s to the power 5 plus s to the power 4 plus 2s cube plus 2s square plus 3s plus 15 is equal to 0. Let's make an array. So we get s to the power 5 1, then second coefficient here 1, third coefficient 2, fourth coefficient 2, fifth coefficient 3 here, and sixth coefficient 15 would be come here. So when we solve this, 2 minus 2 is 0. So this is undefined in this equation. This is not positive, not negative. 0 does not come in positive or negative. So we cannot say if the sign is changing or not. So this is a special case when there is 1 0 and next term is minus 12. So what we will do, if the first element of an row in the Routh array is 0, the 0 is replaced by a small positive number epsilon, and where epsilon is tending to 0. Okay, the value of epsilon is allowed to approach 0, and that is epsilon tends to 0, and the sign of the entries in the Routh table is interpreted for stability. Okay, so what we will do, because first term becomes undefined, the 0 is the first column is replaced by a small positive number. So what we will do, we have replaced it by epsilon, and now we will do this, we will use the same procedure, but instead of 0 we will put the epsilon. So with the same procedure we get the next term 2 epsilon plus 12 by epsilon, and here we will get 15. In the next row we will get calculate with the same procedure, we are getting minus 15 epsilon plus 24 epsilon plus 144 divided by 2 epsilon plus 12 and then 15. Now we get this, now we put epsilon 2 as 0. Once we calculate all the arrow, we put epsilon as 0 and then we calculate the sign. So if this is 1, this is positive, this is also positive. If this is epsilon, it is tending to 0, but as it is not equal to 0, then it is considered as positive. And if we see if epsilon is positive, all the terms would be positive, it becomes positive. And next here, if all the terms are positive inside, but here is the one sign -1. So if we put any value of epsilon somewhat greater than 0, then we will get a negative value only. And if next this is plus 15, this is a constant, so it will always be positive. So how many sign changes are there? No sign change, no sign change, no sign change. But plus to minus, one sign change is here, one sign change, and then again minus to plus, so plus one sign change is here. So total 2 signs are changing. So we have 2 poles lying on the right hand side of the S plane. Okay. So the first element of fourth row is positive and the first element of the fifth row is negative. One element of first row is negative, hence the system is unstable. There are 2 sign changes on the first column, so 2 poles on the system are lying in the. So as there occurs a sign change, that means system is unstable. If we have been asked for the stability, then we can stop here. But if we have been asked for how many poles would lie on the right hand side plane, then we can see the another step. There are 2 sign changes here, so 2 poles are lying on the right hand side of the S plane. So there is another special case. What if the whole row becomes 0, entries in the whole row become 0. So let us consider an example. S cube plus 5s square plus 6s plus 30 is equal to 0. So if we form a Routh array, S cube, S square, 1, 5, 6, 30, and then if we solve this, 5 into 6 is 30, minus 30 into 1 is 30, this is 0, and here no terms is here, so this is also 0. So the whole row is becoming 0. So now what we will do, if an entire row is 0, an auxiliary polynomial is framed with the entries in the words immediately above. Okay, then we will use these entries and we will make an auxiliary equation, which the auxiliary polynomial is differentiated with respect to s. Then this auxiliary equation, this is 5s square plus 30 is equal to 0. This is our auxiliary equation. So here at s to the power 1 it becomes 0. So we will use the next first one, which is not equal to 0, which is s square. So this is the auxiliary equation would be equal to 5s square plus 30 is equal to 0. Okay, now next step is to differentiate the auxiliary equation with respect to s. So when we differentiate it, what we will get, 10s is equal to 0. The row of zeros is replaced with the coefficient of the derivative of the auxiliary polynomial, and the Routh table is interpreted along with the roots. So now what we will do, we will replace these 0, 10, 0, 0 with the elements of this equation. So here we would have 10 now. Okay, instead of 0 we will have 10, and then again with the same procedure we will calculate the Routh array for next term. So here with the same procedure we are getting as is equal to 5s square plus 30. When we differentiate it, we get dA by s is 10s plus 0. So we will replace it by the next equation, s1 10 0. Okay, we get the differentiation is 10s. So this is 10 coefficient of s, and then again it is 0, and then again we calculate with the same thing, we get it is 30. So if we see there is no sign change here, then the system is not unstable. Okay, so all the elements of the first row column are positive, hence the system is marginally stable. Okay, but since the roots of the auxiliary equation lies in the imaginary axis, the roots of the auxiliary equation is 5s square plus 30 is equal to 0, and roots would be equal to minus 6, under root minus 6, that is 6j plus minus 6j. Okay, so these are the roots lying on the imaginary axis. So what we can say, this system is marginally stable. So if we would have got the sign change, then the system would be said to as unstable. But as there are no sign changes in the system is marginally stable. So what we have in this particular special case, when the whole entries become 0, the system is surely not a purely stable system. It could be marginally stable or it could be unstable. And how we can check, we will replace the equation by an auxiliary equation, we will differentiate it with respect to s, and then we will replace the next row which were becoming 0 with the using the equations. So and then we will calculate the next rows using the same procedure as Routh array, and then we will see if there are sign changes. If there are even a single sign change, then the system is unstable. If there is no sign change, then the system is marginally stable. So this is it for the Routh-Hurwitz criteria.